Hi, welcome. Good evening. My name is Carl Sokotis. I'm a board member of the River Plantation Mud District, and I'll be the moderator tonight for our candidates for office. Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
I'll be the moderator for the meet the candidates tonight. We've got a couple of rules that you've got the little handout here. You can see. First of all, remember this is a church, so please be respectful, please be kind. And, we have until 8:30 until we have to be thrown out of here. Each candidate will start off by introducing themselves. They'll have 3 minutes to do that and share their ideas, tell a little bit about themselves and why they should be on the board. Please don't interrupt anyone when they're talking. We'll give everyone their fair share. Everyone in the audience is entitled to a question and a follow-up to go along with that. So please, if you'd like to do that, we have a microphone set up here. We'll do that. Just raise your hand if you'd like to, and I'll call on you to come up here and to the table and ask your question. You can ask a question to the group, or to an individual candidate, or to specific candidates. It's your choice. You can do with that what you like. Remember that early voting begins on April 22nd, and election day is Saturday, May 4th. And hopefully everyone will come out for that. All right, our candidates, and we have them in ballot order. This is how they're going to appear on the ballot. It's Betty Brown, Mark Denham, James Baldridge, and Tom Van Der Earth. We're going to start with Betty. And Betty, you have 3 minutes, and you can tell us a little bit about yourself. You don't have to if you don't want to.
Hello, everyone. My name is Betty Brown. I've lived in River Plantation since 2016. I started attending the meetings in 2017 after Hurricane Harvey. I was very concerned about our drainage issues, and I was appointed to the RPMUD board in 2022 after one of our board members resigned. I was very interested in learning how the MUD board operates and what we can do, what I can do to contribute to the operation. I had a lot to learn, and I quickly learned it takes a while to get some of the things done. One of my main concerns was, and still is, the drainage in subdivision. After full inspections of the drainage ditch, we learned that FEMA money finally came in after years and years, and we were able to get the ditch cleaned out. And now we have a contract that does it every quarter to keep it doing, and I think it really helped, especially during the last rain event in January. We're now on also one of my other main concerns was the Charleston course and Charleston Park, and getting the golf cart paths cleared. There was a lot of damage to the cart paths, so we were able to get some of the concrete people out and repaired all of the cart paths so the walkers could go and enjoy. One of my other main concerns, which I pushed several times, was for the sprinkler system to be working. And we were finally able to get have a full inspection of all the sprinklers and found they were all totally broken. So with some of our park bond money, we were able to get the engineers out. We have bids on it, and now all of the sprinklers are working. Tom and I went for a full inspection of all the sprinkler heads just a week ago, and they're all working. So I think it's going to help keep our park beautiful. I think it will help with the trees, keeping them healthy, and the grass growing. So when we go through the Red Bridge, we'll have a beautiful view again. And that's, hopefully you'll vote for me, and I'll have I have a lot more projects I'd like to work on. Thank you.
You have 1 minute if you like.
Go into Mark.
Can everybody hear me without the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay. Carl, you give that to you for the feedback. Okay, so my name's Mark Denham. First of all, please accept my apology for being late. Dealing with a little bit of a family emergency with an elderly parent. But I'm here, and I'm glad much late, but that's not me. So, my interest in the board has dated back a number of years. I've been a resident of River Plantation for almost 20 years. I have let me just kind of tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a retired federal agent with a federal law enforcement agency. I continue to work on the law enforcement side, and I'm also an executive with a major healthcare company here locally. And I also teach a little bit online with Sam Houston State University. I really enjoy teaching others and helping them learn and better themselves. So with my interest with the MUD board, again, as I said, I was asked, I don't know, several years ago, as we were looking at trying to acquire Charleston as a park. And I did get involved with that, kind of behind the scenes, talking to people, doing my part, because I certainly didn't want what was scheduled to come in here. It would have totally destroyed our community. And as Betty said, when you come through the bridge, I mean, we see what we see now, and if we hadn't have made those actions before, then it just wouldn't be like it is now. So I feel very blessed that we've been able to keep our community as is with the green space. I shared a lot of concerns during that time, attending the meetings when I was given an opportunity to speak as an attendee. I would talk about my concerns of anything else happening to it other than what it is now. I am very concerned about flood mitigation, and if we had allowed a parking lot or any type of ballpark, well, you've got to now have infrastructure. You've got to have the parking spots for that. You've got to have the restrooms now. Then who's going to clean out the restrooms? Who's going to clean out the garbage cans and all that? Going to bring in a lot of extra traffic. All that extra footprint would have pushed more water on more people. Oh wow, that went fast. So I want to be a part of that MUD, to be transparent. I want to be able to work with the community and share my part of what I think I can do to help continue the good work that they're currently doing. And I respect Tom and Betty, and I appreciate what they've done. Thank you.
James?
That's right.
I'm James Baldridge. I've been in River Plantation since 1994. I first started out at on Section 9, but I moved over to Stonewall Jackson. I'm now in this district and have been since 2011. And glad to be here tonight, see all the folks here. My main concern about RPMUD, and always has been, is they've touched on the drainage ditch that needs, has been needing repair for decades. But I'm also interested in the infrastructure. We've got sewer lines, storm sewer, and we've got water. And we've got a sewer plant, and we've got 3 wells. Those things need upkeep, and those things need to be repaired properly. And to my knowledge, there has not been anyone, not on this board, but the previous boards, that have just patched these things and not done them properly. And I'd like to see that done properly so that will last another 60 years. And that's the main reason I want to be on the board. Plus, it's expenditures, you got to have expenditures, but you got to have budgets too. So you need to keep an eye on the budgets, make sure that they're adhered to, and try not to get outside of them. Because it is a tax base, and we, as neighbors and people in the neighborhood, we don't want our taxes to go up. But, everything is going up because of the present administration we got in the White House. But we as a MUD here can watch our money where we spend it, and not let it get out of hand. And that's one thing I want to really look at, besides the infrastructure. And the infrastructure does require money, and I know that I've heard that Tom and some few others have went or pursued these deals to go after grants from the state and possibly federal money, you know, to try to go back and help us cost this improvements to our infrastructure. And I appreciate y'all's vote and hope to see you.
Very good.
I'm Okay, well, I'm Tom Vandiver. As you know, I've been on the board, well, you may not know, I'm finishing my first term with the MUD board, started in 2020 election. I came that time for the same reasons that James talking about, the flood mitigation, the lack of maintenance on the sewer systems, the storm drains, and the wastewater treatment plant. I passed out a little hand flyer that I've done, things that we're doing. Most of you know, if you've looked at it, that we have established a 10-year capital improvement plan. We have the funding to do it. We are currently 75% through phase 1, which means we have totally televised all of the storm sewers. We've televised all the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer. We just got through cleaning out the wastewater treatment plant. We took all the sludge that's been in that filtration system, probably never been cleaned in 50 years, but we just finished that about 3 weeks ago? Yeah, 3 weeks ago. Had it totally emptied. We took all the hard stuff out of it that's not supposed to be in it. You know, where people put rags in their toilets or something like that, well, that doesn't dissolve. It clogs the system up. And it hadn't been cleaned. But the bottom line is that we are making a lot of progress in that way. As far as one of my main things was the drainage, and my particular part was starting to overfill every time, and it took me about a year and a half to find out who was responsible and finally get that started. As a matter of fact, I got that started before I ever got on the board. And now we are well underway. Like I said, we're about 75% done in phase 1 of the whole thing, the storm sewer, drainage, the whole bit. And if you'll notice in Harvey, we had about 450 homes in the neighborhood that flooded. Under this last flood that we recently had, there was less than 60. That's a major change. But the thing you have to understand, there was more water in Harvey as well. So that's part of it, but that's not all of it. The only way I know that we can actually stop it completely is to find a way to get San Jacinto to monitor the level of San Jacinto River, get the San Jac to take care of that. If we can keep them from letting water out of that lake so fast that it raises the river over 110 feet, that's when we start flooding. Because what it does is it backs up into our storm drains and it's got no place to go from there. But if they would simply monitor it and not let it raise the river above 110 feet, we wouldn't have a problem. Am I out of time?
Yes, you are.
Oh, sorry, I talked too much. Would like to vote?
Just hold the microphone there, just hold it there, whoever's going to answer.
I didn't hear the thing.
Just hold it. Okay, time for questions from the public. Anyone?
I'll get it.
Okay. Yes, you have.
Okay. Well, my question is for James Baldridge. Just because you're the only one up here I don't know.
Okay.
I just am curious what your qualifications are or what you think you can bring to the table here
Well,
as a board member.
I've been a project manager for quite a number of years, probably about 26. And I do know how to manage things, and that includes budgets. So, you know, I know how to get things done, so, I know how to plan.
Okay, well, I don't have a problem.
Okay. Anyone else? Class, anyone? Anyone? This is the time.
It's gonna be a short meet and greet.
I'm just gonna ask, you mentioned that if the river authorities, you know, would let the water out slower or whatever, you could manage it. I've always been under the impression that Lake Houston, down south of us, and to the west, to east, that when that fills up, that's when we back up so bad. Now, am I wrong?
I'm not understanding what you're saying fills up.
Lake Houston.
Lake Houston.
Oh,
When Lake Houston fills
Yeah, well,
up, that's when the San Jacinto
it's the
River
same
backs
thing.
up. That's when, if they let the water out
That
of
could
the
be part of the
lake.
cost too, yes.
Well, I mean, you didn't mention that, and it's
Well,
been,
because that's not really where our problem comes from. I mean, eventually it could be, but if they let the water out slower so it doesn't raise, they can't.
yeah, I understand.
If they can slow down the amount that they're letting out, we could mitigate it to some degree. But with the combination of what you're saying, that if Houston backs it up, then that's gonna be the same problem.
But wouldn't it help if the San Jacinto River was dredged out and cleaned up?
It's your
Well,
place.
sure it would.
Well, I mean, you're worried about Lake Houston
What
and Congo.
happens, once that river gets over well, actually it's 113 feet. When it gets to 113
Right.
feet level, then it starts backing up into the east ditch. It causes Stewart Creek to back up, and that's where our flooding's coming from. That's the ultimate solution, be it dredge out Houston, dredge out the river, dredge out what, but we gotta keep it from getting above. I'm saying 110 feet to have a safety cushion, but if we could get that done some way, then we can stop the flooding. Until that, I don't think we'll ever get it totally
They're
stopped.
not.
We went to the CIA.
I'm sorry, Betty, I'm sorry.
The CIA had a bus, we went out to the San Jacinto River Authority, one of the meetings. There was about 60 of us went, and we were trying to get them to dredge the whole section.
Sure.
Because if you've been down the river, we've seen it, I've seen it from airplanes, but there's a lot of trees blocking the river, there's a lot of sand.
For sure.
And actually, the San Jacinto River Authority had a company that said they would come and dredge the whole thing if they could keep the sand.
If they did what?
If they could keep the sand that they dredged from.
Uh-huh.
And we were told that the San Jacinto River Authority said no, that they could not do that.
Oh, my goodness.
But the water, when, I think Lake Houston has had severe droughts in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. Congo has had several droughts, I think last year and 2 years before that, there were droughts. So they could have left the water, having a lot of water in Lake Congo isn't one of the things that pushes the water down. They could have left the water low at Lake Conroe a little bit, and then when they know the floods are coming or they know the rain's coming, they could let out a little bit at a time.
Maybe so, but that's,
They just,
they've been trying that for years and
yeah,
hasn't worked.
they have.
Can I comment?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just,
Here's my take on it. It's gonna take a lot of money to dredge and clean up the ditches. And instead of the San Jacinto River Authority spending $500,000 on a survey to do a early warning system, they should have spent that $500,000 on a design to keep the level of the lake at its proper level and put automation on the dam locks so it releases water at a small amount, so they keep the level where it's supposed to be, and Houston gets their drinking water like they're supposed to.
that sounds good.
Well, we've always known that.
Hold on, please. Mark, do you want to respond?
No, I'm agreeing with everybody, what the panel has said so far. That is going to be the secret. The challenge is getting them to do it, right? That slow release. And I know people have been trying to do that. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't stop, but we have to deal with what's going on above us. We all know that. Plus, with just the rain, you know, Harvey was a non-stop rain, and that also created our own problem, whether we had a river here or not. But these are ongoing things that the district has to deal with, and I have already been involved in it some, without being on the board, and I'm willing to be more involved as an actual board member or director if I, can get your vote.
Actually, the board has no control outside of this
No.
district.
No, right.
We can talk to people,
But,
but we can't.
but you can negotiate and talk and
Negotiations.
use your people skills and, yep.
It's
Do you
important.
do you have a follow-up?
No, I think that was it.
You got a lot of answers.
Good question.
Well, I was just gonna say that we've always known that the river being let out suddenly like that causes us issues. And we've spoken to the river, people have spoken to them, but they haven't wanted to dredge that river because it was so expensive. But, all of this flooding from here to Houston was kind of expensive too. And I always assumed that there was a computer there that kept everything on, and when it got a little bit thick, they knew it was coming, because we always know when there's a hurricane coming, that they would adjust and everything could be easily done. That seems to me reasonable. But apparently there's a guy that says, whoops, too much water, push the button.
Well, let me tell you, that's what I was talking about, is that you have levels, sensors
Right.
in that lake at different, you got a high level and you got a low level sensor. And so that determines how much water you're gonna, how much those dam locks are going to open at any one given time. So it doesn't matter how much water you're coming in with.
Yeah.
It's supposed to sit there and control it. Right, Laura? You're in control, you know.
Well, you got
And
a way to override all that stuff, of course. But they're interested, I think, more in the people who live on the lake, and they want their water to be up to their boat. And that's their, I think that dam was built for a recreational dam.
by law, they have to keep it.
No, it actually was not a recreational dam,
Yeah,
ever.
it actually is.
It was
But
for,
It's a water supply system.
it was
for the
water
city of
supply
Houston.
system.
Right.
But they have an obligation to people downstream.
Okay, next question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is an open question for the participants on this board. So on the back page here, current and ongoing projects, I've watched the videos of the ESD9, just going to establish the fire department, which sounds like a great deal. My question is, and this kind of goes into the RPCIA, on River Plantation, we have a property, and I'm talking here where it says a large percentage of calls and Mosswood are medical. And we have a house, I looked up on Harris County, as far as ownership is supposed to be single-family residence, but it's actually all the neighbors, after we moved in, said that's a halfway house. And I said, what are you talking about? And why I'm bringing it up is like 2 to 3 times a week, there's a fire and ambulance, and sometimes police presence there. And I've been told by the neighbors that this is a halfway house, that people are there, there's nursing, whatever. So my question is, I see this, it's great. I'm encouraged by the fire department having a presence again, because I understand, like, just before we moved in, they got kicked out of the golf course, etc. But watching the video on YouTube with the fire marshal and doing the presentation, my question is that we have several facilities that are incorrectly labeled as single-family residential that have a commercial presence and or may be a part of a cost to us as a community with multiple service calls needlessly between the EMT, the fire, and police. And is there any way of tracking that, or is it up to once we get this in place?
I think I'll try to answer for you, but I don't really know yet. I'll tell you that up front. But I think ESB9 already monitors that type of thing. We have no way as much to do it. What we're doing, just so you're clear, we're not going to be running the fire department, nor are we going to be.
No, I understand that. That's,
Yeah,
they're going to be housed there,
We're
right?
talking with the chief, and they're going to remodel. They're talking about having a couple of firemen on staff 24/7, and I'm hoping they'll have an ambulance here. I'm not sure that'll happen. But anyway, they track all of the runs and all the calls, and I'm sure the L1 they are the ones that will see that, we won't see it, unfortunately. And I will go so far as to tell you that we have already looked at the lease as a MUD board, and we've already sent it to them, and they're reviewing it now. So if that helps you any.
Well, I do have a follow-up to that.
But, let's see if anyone else wants to respond.
I'll be happy to respond. So obviously, I think the CIA needs to look at homes like this as well. If they're not already aware of it, we need to make them aware of it. I'm real excited about the fire department coming back. I've been listening to some of the decisions that the boards are making regarding that, and I certainly support that. That helps us with our fire ratings, as you know. And with Tom mentioning that they may not have an ambulance, I would do everything I could to negotiate that, to at least talk to them. We need medical here.
Let me clarify, the chief indicated he thought that they would station one here, but that's not his actual call. That's
Right.
the board over there.
Right, but it'd be something that we can, in negotiation or just in conversations with them, right? Because I know for a fact that we have a lot of medical calls. My house sits to where I can see them going down in several different main streets in our community. And the fire truck goes just as to accompany them, because quite often they are paramedics on there as well. But we need the EMS service there, because the quicker you can get to somebody, I mean, we all know that this is an older community. A lot of young people are moving in, but still, I would say that for the majority, it's an older community. And getting that quick EMS service is a game changer.
Betty, Jane?
I know where Frank's talking about, there's one real close to us that, they, at least 3 times a week, there's an ambulance that goes by. A lot of times when the ambulance goes, the fire truck goes. So when I was showing the fire chief around in our MUD building, I was asking him about the medical issues that are there. He couldn't talk to us about them. He said there were several houses in our subdivision that are considered a halfway house, and they have different types of people there, older people, people with problems, and there's sometimes nobody else there but those people. And so they're called out there just strictly for medical reasons. And there's nothing, I don't know, unless the CIA can do something, there's nothing the MUD can do. Either way, whether it's to check on them or have the fire department do anything for them.
Jane?
Yeah, I mean, it is an issue with the CIA. The MUD board can't do, there's no jurisdiction.
Yeah, I inquired at the CIA and was told it was a single resident that had a drug problem. So,
I think there's a couple.
Do you have a follow-up?
yeah, my follow-up is, so also in that presentation on the YouTube, and I asked for and received a copy of the fire department's proposal. And in that, being a project manager, I also look at cost and impact. So it's great that they talked about incurring all the costs in the interior build-out. But the one item that really jumped out to me, that how are we capturing or quantifying the concrete, whatever needs to be done on the aprons, the approach, and the drives? Because we're going to have heavy equipment. Is there a budget, or like what's the thought on that? And is that negotiable with the fire department? If they're willing to pay the full load for the interior build-out that's required, do we have a cost limiter for the concrete work?
Yes, we do. That, there was a provision in the original lease that we would reimburse part of it, but I asked the attorneys to take it out of the lease, and we're not accepting any of the expense for the concrete. It's all theirs.
And then my concern, what people talk about too, is that I've asked this, I think, at the last meeting, make sure that we are aware of the build-out from an architectural drawing standpoint. So we know that they're doing something that is legal and within the codes, you know. So we as a board, I say we, I'm not there yet, but we as a board, an RPMUD board, needs to know that information.
As part of the lease.
Yeah, so basically, we've got to know what they're going to actually do inside our previous building as it comes out to be. And as well on the outside in the apron area and the concrete and the design of that, the whole 9 yards.
Betty?
Yeah, all of that's in the lease, in the lease agreement. We've made several changes, still in the negotiation part, but I think we're finally down to the final things of what we're working, and then we send it to them, and we're just waiting for them to come back and see if
Okay.
anything else. We don't want to pay for anything extra, but we do want to make sure that we want them here. It's going to be a good thing for
Oh,
our
yeah,
people.
no doubt.
But we have to make sure that they're going to be good tenants as well.
We're making a really good one.
Mark?
Well, I've already mentioned about this, but I'll speak a little bit more as others were speaking. I've already mentioned it. I think it's really good to have them here because of the fire rating we need to ensure. Because there was a big concern that when they did get removed from their previous location, that our fire rating was going to go up. So we know we need to keep that down. And then again, just reiterate the importance of EMS. So I would, if I was on the board, I would be trying to do my part to negotiate, to say, hey, what can we do to help? And as Tom said, hey, you know, it's in the contract and so forth, but even if we had to pay a little bit to ensure that they are there, I think the community will recuperate that little bit of money 4 times fold, just because we will have a neighborhood fire department and hopefully EMS again.
I'm just gonna back up. When I first moved here, there was a fire department there. So if you're worried about the contract, and there was a fire department here years ago before they got moved out. So that was already a fire department there. And it was really good to have them in the community and the kids to see that. And to have the presence for our homeowners insurance.
Right.
Everybody benefits from that, whether you're an RPMUD or East Plantation, everybody benefits from that.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any
You have
question.
another question for the candidates? Yes, sir.
Was there any thought, seems like the conference room is going to be a room in just itself. Was there a thought given to lack of restroom facilities?
Oh, we're gonna have a restroom. We already have, there's a restroom just on the other side of that door. One
Oh,
single
there'll be a door
restroom.
entrance to get into it.
And there's a mini kitchenette right there too, that's gonna be.
I didn't know if the room was going to be just completely walled through where
No.
you couldn't, okay.
No, we'll have the restroom as well as that little cubby hole where there's
Yeah.
a big draft table
Okay,
thing.
that's good.
That'll all be ours.
Anyone else want to respond to that?
My question was answered, I didn't know.
Do you have a follow-up? You get one question and a follow-up. So
No more.
You're done? Any other questions? Approved.
Get out of it.
If there are no other, there we go.
Whenever you get through, I'd like to give a little history on this area.
Okay.
Whenever y'all get to.
All right, I'm going to say going once, going twice. You have a question?
I have a question, possibly comment. If anyone can speak on it, but I was just kind of curious, maybe, I know we're really working on PCS Option Park, with the sprinklers, and it's just so pretty coming in, and it was one of the things that sold us on buying.
We can't hear you.
But I was just kind of, oh, sure. Can't hear me? Okay. Is it on? Can you hear me? My question, it has to do with Charleston Park, and any of you can kind of chime in on it or answer. I know Charleston Park it's such a pretty area. I know that it won't be back into, the way I understand it, another 9 holes, which is fine with me. But I was just kind of curious about the vision of Charleston Park. I see a lot of people, like I think we've got some people playing baseball in there now, which I don't have an issue with it. I think it's great seeing kids use it. I know some people, they walk, some people are still using the path, for, golf cart rides and outings. So I guess I'm just kind of wanting, I feel like it's kind of torn, like some people don't like seeing families use it, and then others want to see people. So I was just kind of curious where we think that's going. Of course, I always hear people going, oh, I wish we had a dog park, and that's kind of a nightmare. So that's really not something I would be interested in seeing, but just kind of curious what the vision is, because I feel like it could be so much more community, but I think there's a lot of pushback back and forth on what they'd like to see.
I'd like to have a short answer. Is when I was at the AWBD conference, there was classes on, the conference giving awards to RPMUD, to the MUD people, for beautification of their parks. And there were 3 awards given, which were cash awards. People came with, because they replaced the golf cart paths, they added a big gazebo in the middle of their park, they added benches around the park. And one of my things, and for the last couple of years, is I would love to have benches out there. I would love to have it where people could walk and maybe get, the benches, we got a bid on them at one time. They were about $1,200 a bench. And then we had to have them installed, and then one of the problems with that was the teenagers that come and they would destroy the benches or tear them up. We did have, further down, I'm very familiar with the area, closer to the bridge area, there was a restroom facility that was with the original thing. And the teenagers went in there and took off the sinks, the toilets, they tore the buildings, they tore up the lines. We finally, as a board, decided to get rid of the building to keep people from tearing it up. But there's a slab there, there's still a spot there, and I think it would be nice if we could have, a table and for people to rest there, because there's a lot of people that walk, and there's a lot of people that play out there. So I think it would be great to have that. I love the fact that it is a park, and I want to keep the trees healthy. I'd love to be able to pass some different, if we can get an award from the AWPD. That's one of the projects that I was working on, is trying to get some awards to be able to put some benches and stuff out there.
I'd like to share some of my thoughts on it too. I've been spending a lot of time on the park, in the park, and I've had a lot of people question. Most of them seem to like it is. Now there's some people that have not liked the fact that little kids are playing baseball maybe. But so far, it's not been a problem. I'd like to see them move up to section 1, which is up by the pool, because they have parking places in the park, and they can sit up and they're not gonna hit balls into houses or streets or anything. That's where I'd like eventually to get them to go, but we gotta work with them on that. My vision there, and a lot of this, you have to understand, it's long-term, because we don't have a lot of money to spend on the park, right? And I'm like you, I would like to start by first replacing the bad sections of the cart paths that are out there. The places can trip people and hurt people that way. I'd like to get those fixed when we can, and we can start working in small, like 10-foot sections to do that. The next thing I'd like to do is to try to put some benches in there occasionally, and maybe eventually get one on each, not each section, but I don't think we can do that very fast. It's, like Betty said, it's a couple of $1,000 is my pop. And another thought that I've had is I'd like to see us get some color out there as well. And by that I'm talking about wildflowers. And I was talking to the guy that did the sprinkler system for us when we did the inspection. And he says he can get us a mix where they can get us a wildflower mix that has wildflowers that will bloom basically all year long. It's different ones at different times. And I got to think about that. One of the things we could do, it would make, I think it'd be fairly easy, is have them seed the old sand traps that are out there with wildflowers, or make them like a butterfly thing, or whatever you want to call it, but just a little color scratches around on each section where, and if we put them in those old sand traps, the mowers wouldn't have a problem sticking out of them. They could go around them. Everything would be easy. We could have, butterflies or whatever else they attract or do. But I think downstream, if we get the money to do it,